Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Nardell on your afternoon drive. Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Bob Joyce, joining us. He was on the call with Debbie Fisk last night for UConn Women over Baylor.
So that's where I was.
Yeah, that's where you were. That's what we were listening to. First half, though, man, up and down. They're making a bunch of threes. That was their whole offensive game plan. When they're going in like that and they take the lead, what's the feeling when you're calling the game? Like, what are you feeling that UConn needed to do to turn things around?
They had to adjust on defense. They were going under screens as opposed to going over the screens, and they weren't getting out quick enough to close out. And Baylor was getting some really good looks. And, yeah, they made 8 threes. I mean, they made more threes in the game, 12 than of their field goals, and they 21. So more than half of their field goals were threes. So, in a sense, they lived by the three and died by the three. And UConn played with great balance. Everybody who played, of the 7 that played on a regular basis, all gave major contributions, and that's why the Huskies are going back to the Sweet 16.
And we're a lot of fun to watch. All right, the men are a lot of fun to watch. The women are a lot of fun to watch. I think what's really fun this year is, like you're saying, with the balance. It's not just dump it down to Sonogo and let him go to work for a bucket. There's multiple different plays and ways they can score. The women totally the same way, if not even more so. Like, you can go to Aaliyah and feel very comfortable her one-on-one or even one-on-two, or even a 2-1 high-low game with her and Dorka. Or you could go to Lou on a jumper some way, somehow. I'm comfortable with Nika getting an open look. And, of course, he got AZ. I just feel like all the options that they have, both the men and the women, but even more so the women, make this team so much fun. And, it gives you, like, yesterday I was nervous, but yet I always had this, thought that they're going to figure it out somehow, some way, especially coming out at halftime. I just feel like they're so mature, so much fun, and I have to blame the injuries at the beginning of the year, again, just like last year, to get them so much time together and to have these different options that I don't think they would have had if they weren't forced into those roles.
Right, and Caroline obviously gave big contributions off the bench last night. She's had a good first weekend.
Good shooting.
10 points last night. Yeah, she was 4 of 4 on Saturday, 4 of 6 last night, had 6 rebounds. I mean, the bench was spectacular between Aubrey Griffin, and Aubrey Griffin was the game changer last night. When she came in, she didn't score much. She only had 4 points. She had 12 boards, 6 on the offensive glass. She played some sensational defense on the perimeter. And every time she went out, she was headed for the bike with the back wrap on, keeping that back loose. And, Gino every time had to call, they had to basically yell for Aubrey, and she would sprint off the bike, come over in, go to the scorer's table, and come right back in. She was the game changer last night, no question. But when you have those 7 weapons out there, those main 7, Aubrey, Caroline, AZ, Lou, Nika, Dorka, and Aaliyah, you can't double team somebody. You've got to pay attention to all of them, because if one of them gets hot, maybe the only one you don't really have to guard a ton is Nika. I mean, if she knocks down a couple, great. And she's been able to take it to the rim a lot. She missed like 3 layups last night. But still, they're all potential dangerous weapons, and you've got to pay attention to all of them. And if they're all going at what they did last night, they're going to be a tough out.
Well, they don't win last night without Fudd and her 22. She looked great, 3 for 12, but 9 for 22 shooting the ball. A little slow starting, but let me ask you about 37 minutes. I mean, are there any restrictions on her right now? I mean, is it just she feels great and we're not even going to talk about it?
No, Gino would have hoped to have played her less last night, but given the situation with Aaliyah going to the bench with 4 fouls early in the third, they needed someone to really kickstart the offense, and they drew up a couple of plays for her. Let's go back to the second quarter, because there was a foul on Lou Lopez-Seneschal.
Yeah.
She got whacked in the face, and it led to free throws. And Gino told AZ, go take them, because I want you to go see the ball go in the basket. Now, she made 1 of 2, and it took her a little while to get going. But I thought the big sequence came in the third, where she outscored Baylor herself 16-15, was starting to hit buckets in that mid-range game. Mm-hmm. She's so good with that pull-up. And that got going. That got the run going. That got the momentum going. Then she hit a 3 off the inbound, and things just started to snowball between her shooting and Aubrey's play. Dorka put some major minutes in while Aaliyah was on the bench with 4 fouls. I mean, they all, again, chipped in. But, Rob, to your point, AZ only practiced a couple of times before the Big East tournament. And, yes, okay, her shot's good, but that's like just off the dribble, pulling up shots. It's not 5 and 5 in practice.
Right.
So she's still getting adjusted to that. That's maybe the big thing. But, I mean, the looks are good. They're just not dropping yet. But, boy, if she gets on a roll, look out. I mean, Yeah.
She can carry a team.
She
could score 40 in a
She
game.
sure can. That's what she did early in the season, and they'll need that. Ohio State can put some points on the board. They're not great defensively, and they're very fortunate to have gotten out of round 2 against North Carolina. But I like their chances Saturday against the Buckeyes.
Before you get into the Buckeyes, more with injuries, how's Aubrey doing?
Aubrey hasn't practiced one bit since the Big East, since she tweaked her back in the Big East tournament. She
didn't play in the second half, first round either, right?
No, but they didn't really need her.
Right,
either.
but still keeping the
they
minutes
want to leave for minutes to a minimum. But she played 19 minutes last night, and boy, she gave them everything they could. I mean, Lou still, got the bulky knee, but other than that,
could you notice anything with Aubrey as far as the back last night?
Last night,
I couldn't either.
Not at all. No, she had that. It was a rather large back belt. It was all lights in the back, and I'm sure it was keeping it warm and massaging it too. And she was on the bike all the time. She never sat on the bench. She was on that bike all the time, keeping the back loose.
Warrior.
You don't know the training staff, do you? I mean, because they're
getting
warriors,
to know them this
man.
year.
That's what I'm saying. They deserve a lot of credit.
Janelle Francisco, Andrea Huddy, they are
been
doing
very
an amazing
busy.
job. Oh, they sure have. Yeah, last two years they've been busy. Not only that, but they're rehabbing on both Paige and Ice too from their season injuries. I mean, Ice is on the floor at least partaking in warm-ups as part of the process to just kind of get used to what it's going to be like. Paige isn't quite there yet, but they're pretty close. They won't play in the NCAA tournament. Let's emphasize that.
No. We didn't plan on them playing, but I just appreciate that. I lived in the training room as a player. You can't get out on the field without amazing staff that are keep every day going in there. People don't see all the times you got to go in there without the team and see the trainers and do all the behind the scenes stuff. They never get enough credit. And this year they've been magicians.
Nika has been raving about Aubrey and what she does on and off the court. Particularly with all the work that she has to do in the training room, stretching, everything. Nika called her the MVP of the team this year. That's one of the big factors of last year. They did not have Aubrey Griffin. I mean, the way she was going up after some of those rebounds last night was impressive. And even Nikki Collins said afterwards, the head coach at Baylor, Aubrey was the difference last night.
She's an athlete.
Yeah, she's
sure is. Unbelievable.
And that family can play some ball.
Yeah. All right, moving forward to Ohio State. You broke it down a little bit, but tell us a little bit more. We know Dorka Juhas probably has a pretty good scouting report. That's where she's coming from. I know it was a couple of years ago, but this can't look past this team and look to Virginia Tech or Tennessee whatsoever.
No, I haven't done a whole lot of work yet on the Buckeyes, but they average 81 points per game. They can shoot the three fairly well. They have a kid, her last name I think is Mike Sell, who is their top three-point shooter, like 80, 93s on the season, something like that. They have a guard who hit the game-winning hoop yesterday who has been kind of like AZ Fudd, missed a lot of the season due to injury, only played 11 or 12 games. She has been a factor, and she was, I think, a second or honorable mention All-American last season. So they're going to be legit. The one question I have of all the Big Ten teams is, can they defend enough against the elite teams to advance? And this will be the third straight year that UConn has played a Big Ten team in the Sweet 16. Iowa 2 years ago, Indiana last year, Ohio State this year. Kevin McGuff's style usually has not gone well against the Huskies, and we'll see how it plays out. But I'm going to be intrigued by this new format. There is nobody in this either bracket out in Seattle has any sort of home court advantage in this regional. Maybe UCLA a little bit because they're on the West Coast. They're in one of the other brackets, but it'll be fun. I mean, you've got Ohio State, Tennessee, Virginia Tech, and UConn all going west. So let's see who travels best and let's get to the best atmosphere. And Chris Daly raved about the new arena, the redone Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle where the Storm and the Kraken play. She was there for Sue Bird's last game. Phenomenal facility. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, they only had 3 points off the bench. They seem to have the rotation just like UConn of 7 women. Right. Only 2 came off the bench. And like you said, Sheldon and Mike Sell, your 2 guards, 39 and 40 minutes respectively. I mean, that's putting in a lot of time, especially this deep into the season.
Sure it is, but that's what you play for. I mean, look at last night. Nika played 37 minutes. AZ played 37. Dorka played 32. Aaliyah played 24 because of foul trouble. I'll tell you what, Aaliyah has been unstoppable in the post so far in the postseason, and I'm including the Big East tournament too. She's shooting 65% right now. You can't stop her in the post. With everybody in the lineup, you got to go one-on-one with her, and she's a beast right now. She has been really, really good, and she runs the floor so well.
I know you know all the programs involved. Ole Miss getting a big win over Stanford as the big upset of, what was that, the day before. Then yesterday's big upset was Indiana losing to Miami, which is weird because Miami's men knocked the men of Indiana out as
That's
well.
That's probably a first.
But for that, what does it mean for women's basketball? I know you know the Miami program well. They've been making their moves steadily, slowly. Ole Miss, a part of a very good conference in the SEC, but what does it mean when those two top seeds go down in the second round? Doesn't happen that often in the women's tournament.
It means we're starting to get some more parity. That's the good thing. Yes, South Carolina is still the best team, far and away. But to see, some of these 8-9 teams in the seeding getting to the Sweet 16, we saw it with Creighton last season. It's good. It's supposed to be hard. It doesn't matter where you're seated. If you don't play well, you're going to get bit. And that's what happened to Stanford, and that's what happened to Indiana. That's what happened to Duke last night, losing to Colorado.
Yep.
That's what happened, So we've seen it. And, kudos to these teams. I mean, Ole Miss plays in a great league, no question. The SEC is a rough and tumble league. They have, at least four of the 16 left are from the SEC, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Ole Miss. Big East has 2. UConn, Villanova, great for Maddie Segrist. She got some help last night. Lucy Olson had a double-double last night. She played a fantastic game against...
Can they win?
I don't know.
Miami?
Yeah, they might be able to beat Miami.
Got to stop Segrist, though.
Yeah. I mean, Maddie again, needs help. If Lucy Olson, produces, Bella Runyon gives him like 8 or 10 points, Dulcie is a big factor in the post. Yeah, I think they can get to the regional final. That'd be awesome for the Big East to see 2 teams again. We've got 5 teams from the Big East overall between the men and the women, and 3 schools nationally that have both teams still playing: Miami, Tennessee, UConn.
Going back to the years where both the men and women won the national championships, any similarities that you can see between these 2 teams?
Wow. Maybe the men's team in 04 with the depth that they have. The 11 and 14 teams had a little bit of depth, but the 04 team was loaded. I mean, you had Charlie Villanueva coming off the bench. You had Rashad Anderson coming off the bench. I mean, between big and little. Devin Brown was on that team, I think. He was coming off the bench with Okafor and Gordon. And, oh, man,
that was an amazing team.
That was a really, really good team. Emeka battled through back injuries all season, and they won the championship. 04 with the women? No, because that was Diana's last year. No, I mean, a little bit. More so for the men than the women. I mean, as you mentioned in your open, Gino's not even a top 10 finalist for Naismith National Coach of the Year, which is
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, there's a story behind that. I'll share it to you with off air, but
yeah, they don't like him, and I
want it on air.
No,
I want it on air.
It came down to 3, Coach. I'll tell you off air. No, I'm not gonna throw somebody under the bus here.
Throw him under the bus.
Yeah, I would agree.
I will throw them under the bus.
The last couple of years, Gino has done a phenomenal coaching job. He and his staff have done a magnificent job, and to think this is 29 in a row Sweet 16s. And every year but 2,
that's disgusting.
And every year but 2, they've been to the Elite 8. So think about that for a minute. Let's put aside the 14 straight Final Fours and the 11 national championships. Just the consistency. Every year, they're at the point where they have a chance to win every year. It's disgustingly good.
There's 2 players, one on each team, that I think that make it fun to watch and make it different than any other year. I think it's Andre Jackson for the men and it's Nika Mule for the women. Mm-hmm. Both of those players are just so much fun to watch, even though they make a handful of mistakes. Like, you're going to have to live with a few turnovers that make you pull your hair out, but you are going to see about 10 plays within the game that make you the biggest fans of those people because they just play with this passion that is unmatched on their teams and unmatched in the country. Like Nika Mule's facial expressions. They are legend.
She's a bulldog.
Everyone in town tells me how much they love this girl. Everyone in town tells me how much they love watching Andre play. Just that reckless abandon that both of them possess. I don't think anyone else has it.
I might actually have to get myself a Nika Mule T-shirt.
There you go.
I love that kid. She is awesome. She loves looking at pictures of the little guy.
All right.
But she is an absolute bulldog. And that midcourt shot she hit at the end of the half yesterday,
awesome.
her only field goal. Yep. I mean, the place went bananas, but that's her only field goal. But, I mean, 10 assists, 2 turnovers last night against a pretty good Baylor team that forces a lot of turnovers.
Yep.
That's impressive. Now, everybody except for Aubrey Griffin had at least 2 turnovers, 3 and 2. They had 15 for the game. They've actually done a pretty good job taking care of the ball. There have been a few foolish passes and a few mistakes, but so far, first 5 games of the postseason, they've gotten better in that department, and they're turning teams over. They're able to get the running game going a little bit. They're taking advantage of points in the paint. They're getting bench production. Boy, isn't this a luxury?
Yeah.
29 on Saturday, 14 yesterday. I mean, it's starting to come together. You talk about peaking at the right time.
Right.
This is a team that's peaking at the
Gene
right time.
Hackman statement right there, if I've ever heard one from Hoosiers. Starting to come together, boys.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's amazing what happens when you have 10 healthy players on the bench
Exactly.
and you have a lot of options.
Bob, as always, thank you so much.
Great job last
Safe
night.
travels to you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Talk to you from Seattle.
All right, we'll be right